So finally, after a very, very long wait time, we finally have AMS 2 version 1.6. Took a while, and unfortunately, because of work and because I was sick, I wasn't able to enjoy the new additions before they became locked behind a paywall. So, with that being said, I'm still recovering from my sickness, but we could still talk about the improvements that 1.6 added to the game. And I gotta say, honestly, I am very happy and well pleased because there was always something about AMS2 that, though it was fun, something about it just didn't feel right. Some cars were pretty good, other cars were very hit or miss. Now, am I here to say that every car is now absolutely perfect with 1.6? No, it is not. But the cars that I used most have seen a fair share of improvements in some areas, which makes the car so much more fun and believable to drive. So before 1.6, if we want to talk about the F1 cars for a minute, the cars had this tendency to be very understeery. Like the way the downforce was generated for the cars didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, especially when I compare it to like Assetto Corsa and the F1 games inevitably. I don't have iRacing, but when I compared them to those games, there was such a huge disconnect with AMS2, which made them so unfun. Driving the F1 cars in the F1 games, except for F122 and F121, well, especially F122, made more sense to me than driving it in AMS2, which was crazy, in my opinion. Normally, I was always just driving the Formula Ultimate Gen 2, but even when I drove some older F1 cars, there was still a thing about them that just didn't make them feel nice to me. I don't know what it was. Even in VR. That's another topic, but let's finish with the F1 cars. Before they even got upgraded to their better model and performance, I think that, I forget which version that was updated. The first version of the Formula Ultimate Gen 2 that Reza gave us was absolutely garbage in my opinion. It handled like trash. It was nowhere near good in VR or in flat screen. It was just strange. I had to really just baby the car around because I couldn't push it. And from real F1 drivers' testimonies, those cars are able to be pushed a lot. Like they can really just abuse the heck out of those cars. But the problem is, if they were to do that, their tires would get cooked. That's especially if they have a stable setup. If their setup is not right, obviously the car would be very twitchy and they would just not feel comfortable. But as soon as the driver has a setup that is comfortable and allows them to push, they can just push because the tires will more or less give it to them until they're completely overheated, and then performance just drops off and now they can't drive the car fast anymore. So that's the thing. It seems like a lot of simulators make these cars way too twitchy, and though I don't have iRacing, from what people have been saying, the F1 cars in iRacing, those cars seem to be a little less twitchy and able to be pushed as the downforce builds up. But yeah, when Reza updated to the newer version of the Formula Ultimate Gen 2, the handling was better, but it was still not there. In VR, it was okay, but you still had to get used to it. And once you got used to it and you jump to another sim, suddenly you have to relearn how to drive their version of an F1 car, especially the Codemasters games. But we're not here to argue whether a sim is more simulation or not. It's just a general feel. But 1.6 finally, and even before, I think they did the thing before, a small update before with the Formula 1 cars or with the Formula Ultimate, but I don't know. But with 1.6, finally, the cars actually make me feel like I'm driving an F1 car. When the downforce builds up, it just keeps building. There's no weird ceiling limit to when you go at a certain speed and then now there's no, you can't get more downforce. You can always get more downforce. It's a wing, for crying out loud. I mean, of course, as long as your car doesn't bottom out. But yeah, now when I turn the car, the downforce keeps the car glued to the track. The only thing that limits me, which makes sense, at least in my opinion, is the tires. if the tires can't give me more grip, then I will start losing traction. Either if I'm in a certain situation where my fronts are overheated, I will start understeering. But in most cases, I can lose the rear because really, even like what Lewis Hamilton said, and even somewhat testimonies from other F1 drivers of just how pointy the cars are, if you go too hard, you're just going to lose the rear of the car. And we've seen that in replays and whatnot. So that's what I'm saying. With 1.6, the Formula Ultimate Gen 2 feels great. Now, another thing with the 1.6, before that, when you drove cars from other disciplines, it seems like, at least to me, it was an over-reliance on like the setting, the steering degree option in the setup menu that I had to fiddle with. Sometimes the car felt like they were just way too sensitive whenever I turned them, so I had to lower that steering degree thing, and that was so bizarre in my opinion. It's like, I guess it's something to do with the steering rack. I'm not too sure, but I had to really tweak that a lot. But now with 1.6, I do that a little less because now the tires are actually giving me grip. So that's the thing that wasn't really a thing in 1.5. Even if your tires, like it said, it was green, it still felt sometimes as if the tires were cold. So now the tires actually give you more grip, which is great, especially when they're in the good temperature window. So if your tires are cold, you're going to notice. You're going to notice that you're sliding around. It's very understeering, and in some cases it can be a bit too oversteering and just weird. But once the tires are in a good window, suddenly the car just hooks. You find grip, it just hooks, especially if you're on the racing line. When you brake at the right point and you downshift and you use the engine brake to your advantage, the car is just glued to the track. Like the stock cars from the LMDH cars, they're just glued to the track. And that's the thing, that now the tires behave more to what I would assume race tires would feel like. I've never been in a real race car, but from what I hear online, from what we hear online from other racing drivers, people who have been on simulators and then in real life racing, we hear similar talk. When the tires are in the right temperature, they just grip. And finally we get that. Now, of course, if you push the tires too much now and you do it for, let's say, a lap or two, you will begin to really feel the drop off. Before, it was more like, oh, the tires just get more worn and then you will feel the drop off eventually. And there you go. Now you need to pit for new tires. But this time it's very much temperature, let's say, sensitive. When it's too hot, the pressures are too high, you just drop a face. And then you got to cool your tires a little bit for them to grip a little bit better. And that's the thing that's so fascinating now. Now, there's also the fact that what they've worked on with 1.6 in regards to the racing line, that I haven't played a whole lot to really be able to tell the difference if it's actually improved, and especially from mixed weather conditions. So that's one thing that I want to get to. But before I get to that, let's mention the fact that AMS 2 is possibly the best racing sim that you can play in VR right now. It is my go-to VR sim because of the performance and the visuals. I do wish that there were more tracks, especially some more tracks like F1 cars race on. But for the tracks that they have, for IMSA, the World Endurance Championship, and other sort of disciplines for the Brazilian racing scene, it's pretty solid. So yeah, the track selection is still quite amazing. Now, this does bode into question because there are some tracks missing. That's a fact. Say, for example, the Circuit of the Americas. That track is not there. It'd be cool to have, some more street tracks. That's the thing that I'm wondering about the future of AMS 2 compared to the competition, because there is Le Mans Ultimate, which they have more cars, basically all the cars racing for the endurance championships. Now, I can't remember exactly all the tracks that they have, but for Le Mans Ultimate, they're also planning to add and continue to refine the VR. So that's a thing that I'm wondering. I mean, look, you can never have too much VR. There's already Assetto Corsa with VR, but look, racing and Assetto Corsa is quite a joke with AI. And to do it online, it's fine, but you can't just hop right on in and then boom, you're in a race. AMS2, it's a lot in just one simple package. Now, there's also Assetto Corsa Evo or Assetto Corsa Evo. How is that gonna fare? Because if that game has one, beautiful visuals, number two, great VR performance, number three, beautiful racing against AI, proper online, and let's say lots of tracks added, and then proper modding support and all that stuff, AMS2 is gonna struggle. Many sims are actually gonna struggle because AC Evo could really be the one to destroy them all. Because imagine this, the AI is good to race against, and then you have VRC or racing studios that make an F1 style car, and then you can have a proper F1 style season, of course minus the cutscenes, but the AI behaves very well, and then you have all the tracks on the F1 calendar and then some. You can make your own championships, whether with AI or with people. It's gonna be tough on Codemasters, that's for sure. Now, is it gonna be something that they can't fight back with? No, they could definitely do something if they want to do something, to keep their fan base, because Assetto Corsa is not necessarily going to be for the casual sim racers, but it's definitely going to take a few of them. I have no doubt. The other thing that I wanted to say, basically just to finish out this video, in regards to 1.6. Now, this video has been a bit all over the place. It's kind of a bit of a rant, but I just had to put it out there at least. Maybe at one point I might make some more precise videos about AMS2 and racing simulation and sim racing in general and all that stuff. But the last point that I have to make is the rain. So one big thing about 1.6 is what Razer was doing with the rain and what they were advertising. And that's one thing that I'm wondering now. Now, I don't have iRacing, and I don't have the budget nor the time to do that work myself. So if somebody that already owns iRacing, a subscription of iRacing, can do that, that would be nice. Looking at you, possibly Gamer Muscle, to make a comparison between mixed conditions of iRacing versus AMS2. I want to see who, well, not necessarily who does it best, because I'm pretty sure iRacing does it best, but if AMS2 does it at a level that is close enough to iRacing, and then that basically means, hey, you can get almost basically what iRacing has at a very low cost, and that would be insane. Riza seems to have done a lot of work in how the track gets rubbered in and how the rain has an effect on grip and all that stuff and puddles. So I wonder if they did a good job and if the AI responds properly accordingly. I haven't had a mixed condition race yet. Maybe one day I might try it myself. The rain already in AMS2 looks good. In VR, it looks beautiful. It's nice and scary when you're behind a car spraying you with a bunch of water, and that's one thing that I like. Now, iRacing obviously has that same effect, and it's beautifully done over there as well. But here's another thing. If Kunos wants to try that, because we saw what was possible with AC, with the modding scene, if Kunos wants to do it, they can make the rain look insane in AC Evo. So like this, there is no competition. Well, not no competition, but it's gonna be tight. So far now, sim racing is looking good. I'm very happy about the state that we are in right now. Definitely more videos coming in. They're probably gonna be all over the place. But hey, if you like to just watch some sim racing videos that are a little bit all over the place with, I'm ranting too far. If you like videos with no real supposed structure and you just want to have fun, like and subscribe, and there will be more videos on the way, especially when I'm no longer sick. My voice is horrible. I'm coughing in between almost each sentence that I'm saying, as I'm about to cough right now. But yeah, great job, Riza. I'm not gonna lie, great job. Definitely worth the price. I mean, I'll still buy your new expansion on sale, but keep doing what you're doing. And that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.